Lashaya Stine. Colorado, in the early morning hours of July 15, 2016. She left home without her mother's permission, to mean unspecified individual, and she never came back. The last sighting of her was on surveillance footage, walking near a bus stop in the 16 block of North Peoria Street. At 2:23 a.m., she has never been heard from again. Lashaya left behind her clothes, wallet, money, phone charger, and other belongings. Leaving in the middle of the night was out of character for Lashaya, according to her mother, who said her daughter was looking forward to a potential summer job opportunity, and she also had no history of running away from home or getting into trouble. Lashaya's mother believes her daughter is alive, but being held by sex traffickers. Multiple people have told the family that they've seen the young girl, now 17, in the desolate area of cheap motels, where prostitution and drugs are rampant. Some have told her that her daughter's captors keep her drugged. Lashaya was an honor student at George Washington High School. At the time of her disappearance, she dreamed of becoming a nurse and had gotten an internship at the University of Colorado Hospital. Police said there haven't been any new developments in the case, but they continue to follow all leads. To Matt Flores, 26-year-old. Matt Flores was a successful military officer, starting a job at Applied Materials Incorporated in the Silicon Valley area with his wife of 4 years, Denise, and their newborn daughter, Danielle. On March 24, 1994, Matt's 9th day of training for his new job, he arrived at work and parked in the middle of the lot. Nearby, another employee sat, listening to a talk show on her car radio. When a gunshot rang out, she moved to investigate. According to police, the female witness called 911 after realizing someone had been shot. Matt Flores had been shot once in the back of the head, at point-blank range. He probably never saw his killer, and incredibly, no one else did either, even though there were more than 20 people in the parking lot. At the time of the murder, authorities found that Matt had no known enemies and no reason to have been killed. Despite the presence of several security cameras in the parking lot, the killing itself took place in a blind spot, just out of view of the cameras. However, one of the cameras did give the police their most significant lead. The footage shows an unidentified two-door Ford Explorer entering the parking lot 20 minutes before the shooting. A few seconds later, a two-door Ford Probe, similar to Matt's, was followed by the Ford Explorer. A few minutes later, the Explorer exited the parking lot. Then 3 minutes before the shooting, the Explorer re-entered the parking lot and went in the direction where the shooting occurred. At 8:12 a.m., 2 minutes before the shooting, Matt and the female eyewitnesses entered the parking lot. At 8:14 a.m., the murder takes place just out of the camera's range. Approximately 20 seconds later, the Ford Explorer leaves the parking lot, never to be seen again because the Explorer initially followed a car that looked like Matt's. Police believe the murder may have been a case of mistaken identity, and that the driver of the car was planning on killing the man in the same car type as Matt's. Police have looked into several theories, including that he was killed as a result of a road rage incident, that his death was related to the military, and another that his death was related to his job. They looked into the possibility that his murder was related to the death of Sergeant Nicholas Gage, who served under Matwell in the military. Gaines mysteriously vanished in April of 1993 and was later found dead under suspicious circumstances. However, no evidence has been found to substantiate these theories. The case is still open, and authorities hope that someone will come forward with a new lead. To date, the authorities' most substantial clue is that of the Ford Explorer, videotaped in the parking lot. The vehicle is a two-door sport model, manufactured between 1991 and 1994. It has distinctive black trim on its lower panels. A $100,000 reward is being offered in this case. 3. Ethel Shannon Mccarson. Ethel Shannon Mccarson was born in Rockmart, Georgia, a town of about 4,000 people, an hour northwest of Atlanta. The youngest of 3 sisters, she was a creative and ambitious child. She picked up painting at a young age and got her private pilot's license when she was only 19, but at 21, when she was studying to become an airplane mechanic in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Mccarson had a mental breakdown and was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Mccarson had to give up her pilot's license. After the breakdown, she kept painting mostly flowers or horses, sometimes traveling to northern Florida to sell her artwork for cheap. She started to travel a lot, going from town to town, and was arrested 3 times in Florida on charges of disorderly conduct and contempt of court in both Bay County and Panama City Beach. Mccarson did not have a cell phone and often borrowed phones from strangers and passers-by to make calls. She did not have any bank cards. She was not on social media, and she got around by hitchhiking or taking Greyhound buses. On April 4th, Mccarson, now 42, took a bus and arrived in the Orlando Greyhound station on North John Young Parkway just after noon. It is believed that Mccarson may have told someone on the bus with her why she was coming to Orlando in the first place and whether she was meeting someone there. After she got off of the bus, the surveillance camera captured her. She was wearing a light-colored tank top, a scarf, and dark-colored pants. She was carrying a medium crossbody bag and a brown jacket. She walked outside, dropped her jacket onto a patch of grass, and sat down on it. A woman in a short-sleeved red shirt and light-colored shorts walked up to her, and the two started talking. After about a minute and a half, a white car pulls into the parking lot, and Mccarson got up and walked away in the direction of the car. Whether she got into the car or continued walking somewhere else is not known. 2 days later, her remains were found in a wooded area near Old Winter Garden Road and North Cottage Hill Road in Orlando, Florida. According to witnesses, she had been decapitated and cut in half. Her arms and legs had also been cut off. The woman talking to Mccarson is not a person of interest in Mccarson's death, but investigators would like to know what she and Mccarson talked about. The woman has not been identified. There is a $10,000 reward for any information about this case. 4. Relisha Rudd. Relisha Rudd was an 8-year-old girl from Washington, D.C. For over a year. Relisha's family had been residing in a homeless shelter in the former D.C. General Hospital, the largest shelter in the district, housing hundreds of families and as many as 600 children. In March of 2014, a counselor at her elementary school noticed that she hadn't been in her classes for almost a month. Some of her absences had been excused by a doctor. Halil Tatum, the school counselor, reached out to a social worker to inquire about release. Shows extended absence from there. It was discovered that Dr. Tatum was actually Halil Tatum, a janitor at the shelter Relisha just stated. In late February, Relisha's mother, Shamaka Young, asked Tatum to care for her. She later said she wanted Relisha to be able to escape the conditions at the shelter, which was filthy, chaotic, crime-ridden, infested with vermin, and had no playground. Alicia was last seen at a hotel, which captured her and Tatum checking into a Holiday Inn in Washington, D.C. Authorities started to search for Tatum and Alicia. After social work filed a missing persons report, it was discovered that Tatum had murdered his wife, Andrea Tatum, inside a separate motel. A witness claimed that he helped Tatum make an internet search relating to the murder. Investigators believe Tatum shot his wife to death that night, or early the next morning. They had been in the process of a divorce. Her body was found in a motel room in Oxon Hill, Maryland. Tatum and Alicia were both gone. Authorities began searching for them, both in earnest, as they believed Relisha was in danger. Tatum was already wanted on a charge of car theft. And after his wife's body was found, he was additionally charged with murder. He had been arrested multiple times before for breaking and entering, but his only prior felony conviction had been for larceny decades earlier. Police learned that on March 1st, Tatum bought a box of 42-gallon trash bags and some lye, which can be used to speed up decomposition. They stated that they believed he had murdered the child. On March 31st, police found Tatum's body at Kellenworth Park. In Aquatic Gardens, he had shot himself with the same gun used to kill his wife. While many places have been searched, no sign of Relisha has ever been found. 5. Iwona, like Thoric. Iwona was fresh out of high school. She was waiting for the information about university admissions and was planning on going on a vacation trip to Spain. On Friday, July 16th, she went to a party with friends. The party was held in an apartment of one of her mutual friends. Later that night, she went to a club in Sopat, in the company of her friend, Audria, and 3 colleagues, Powell, Merrick, and Adrian. She was supposed to stay at the first party, but instead she chose to go to a club with 3 guys that she had known for about a month. During this time at the club, there was an argument between them, but to this day, no one knows the reasoning behind the argument. According to her friends, Iwona left in a hurry and ran out of the club. She was seen on CCTV at approximately 3:45 a.m. outside of the Dream Club, walking barefoot with her high heels in her hands. She went towards the seaside promenade. She has no money and her phone battery was running low. She waits until the dawn breaks at around 4 a.m. and starts walking in the direction of her home, through the seaside boulevard. She had about 6 kilometers, 3.7 miles to go. She texted a few people on her way, also Audria, saying she's angry that her friend didn't follow her out. Iwona called Audria, and Audria says that they settled the argument over the phone and that they were okay. Now a few minutes later, after 4 a.m., she calls Audria for the last time, telling her that her phone battery is dying, telling her where she is, and telling her that she's heading to Audrey's home. Was a bit drunk and probably didn't want to meet her mom like that. And Audrey's parents were away, so her house was the perfect place to go. At that time, Audria was almost home, and she said that she'd leave the keys outside for Iwona to come in. She was actually standing near Iwona's apartment at the time of the conversation, and Iwona's stepfather heard Audria talking. The stepfather also claimed that he had heard Iwona, but Adrian says that's because she had the speakerphone on. This was the last time anyone heard from Iwona. Iwona was captured on CCTV, walking down the seaside boulevard at 4:12 and this would be the last known whereabout of Iwona. Her mother thought she was at Adria's. Adria thought she had gone home because the keys were still intact. They realized that something was wrong around 5 a.m. on June 17th. In the surveillance footage at the beach, it is clear that a certain distance behind the girl, there was a man in a plaid shirt with a towel on his shoulder walking. To this day, the man has not been identified. Police at the start made very little attempt in locating Iwona. They initially thought that maybe she had gone off to party somewhere else, or stayed at some other friend's house, or had run off. The real investigation didn't start until a week after her disappearance. Despite numerous searches, none of her things or clothing from that day were ever found. About 100 people were questioned in the beginning of the investigation, but nothing important came up. Some people think that the conversation that was overheard by the stepfather wasn't actually a phone call, but an eye-to-eye conversation, and that Adria and Iwona met outside the apartment building, and that Adria knows what happened. A composite of the unknown man from the CCTV was released, but so far, no one has come forward to identify the man in the video. The case remains unsolved.